Hey guys, and welcome to Tabby Talks, where we chat all things fitness, business, lifestyle, and a little bit of shit. So on today's episode, it's really going to be all things kind of nutrition. I have Maddy joining me today, who is one of the coaches on the team. Maddy is also a qualified dietitian. She's a sports dietitian. She obviously has her Cert 3-4, so realistically, she knows her shit, but we wouldn't have someone on the team that didn't know their shit. So without further ado, Maddy, welcome.
Hi. This one's been a little while coming now.
I know.
We've been talking about doing a podcast for a while. Yeah. But yeah, just a short introduction of myself, I guess. I'm Maddy. I'm 23 from Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And like Tabby said, I guess you introduce yourself with your qualifications. I am part of the team now. Mm-hmm. I started studying my Bachelor in Human Nutrition 2019. God, when did I even graduate? 2019.
To be in uni since then.
Yeah, I was in uni for 5 years, just over.
Wow.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
And that first year I was like, well, that's not enough. Like, I'll do my PT qualification while I'm in my first year of uni. So I was just doing all of that and then graduated 2021. Mm-hmm. And then went, shit, I want to do a bit more. Mm-hmm. Started studying as a dietitian and graduated earlier this year from that. Mm-hmm. And again, there's more I want to learn, more I want to do. So I started with my sports dietetics qualification and I'm looking to finish that towards the end of this month.
And were you going back to uni because you felt like you needed to learn more, or for you was it about, no, I want more qualifications on my resume?
Well, there's just so much I want to know. And for me, the university environment, you have no choice but to learn when you're there. Yeah. Because you've just got to tick so much off and get through all the content, etc. Mm-hmm. And there was just so much I wanted to learn from a personal perspective and I got into nutrition because I'm I want to learn more about the human body. It wasn't necessarily God, I think I'll make a lot of money in this career or anything like that. I just wanted to learn so much and I feel like I've done that, but there's always still so much more to learn.
Yeah, you always wonder whether you learn more, because there's so many bro science people out there. And I know us two are very big on obviously being evidence-based, but for me personally, I feel like I need to go through something a little bit in order to be able to teach it and 100%. Educate it. I'm a believer in practicing what you preach, and I know you are as well. How big of a role do you think that university has played with your knowledge today?
Definitely that sort of background knowledge. University was so important, especially from the discipline of learning. It's very regimented. It was sort of worked hand in hand with prep because it's you have some things to tick off every single day. True. It is laid there for you. University is such a privilege where you have all of these resources, all of these fantastic minds that you can speak to. And you just need to be the one that's disciplined enough to day in and day out learn. Because no one loves sitting down for 3 hours and studying for exams. It's such shit.
I feel like people don't take advantage of uni.
100%.
Right?
Couldn't agree more.
I mean, I went to university for 2 days. And then I dropped out. But guys, I did still get into my uni course.
Yes.
When I was at school, I was do you know how stressed I was about what the fuck is my life going to be? And I was I need to do well. I need to get a good ATAR. I need to get into uni. Guys, I mean, cool if you want to. I'm all for it. And again, having those qualifications and going for the reasons Maddy said, it does ingrain discipline, and it does, it enforces you to study and to learn and to upskill. Of course it does. So if you're not specifically motivated, I guess, yourself, then potentially it's a good route to definitely go down. And it's going to teach you things that you're not going to learn anywhere else. But it's also not the be all and end all. So don't look at yourself being I didn't go to university, I'm not going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
Guys, I basically didn't go. It's fine.
Those 2 days, they counted for a lot. You showed up.
I agree. I actually went there in person. I came home on the first day. I cried to my mom and said, I am not going back. And she's like, you have to go a second day.
And you did.
I did. And that's all she told me to do. So I dropped out after that.
Exactly. And I feel like the flip side of that is the amount of like learning and growth that I've had since coming out of university, obviously coming into a job where I can actually apply what I've learned and be like, oh, shit, exactly what I learned doesn't apply to each and every single person because we're all different. That's been an entirely different experience in and of itself. And I was seeing the exact same thing when I was on like hospital placements in university. Like just what you learn at uni, the theory isn't the be all and end all.
Yeah, because I feel like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but do they teach you sort of one way? Yeah.
Very much so. Like they sort of say they don't, but you're very much catered to do it in a singular way. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like when I go to the doctor now or something and I'm like, they obviously know a baseline of like training. They know a baseline of nutrition. And the other day when I was at the doctor's and I was telling her, she's like, oh, have you been training? And I was like, yeah, like I'm a bodybuilder, I guess. And then she was like, oh, so like you go on walks? And I'm like, no, like I weightlift. And she's like, oh, so like squats, can you show me what you do? And I'm sitting there like, no, like you've got a PhD. You're like technically someone so much smarter than me, but your baseline is so bad of like training and nutrition. And honestly, like training and nutrition should be a basic for every person. And I know we have this written down here about people's just like knowledge around training and nutrition is terrible. Yeah. It doesn't need to be good. It's like of course it doesn't, but everyone should know a baseline to 100%. To live.
Yeah. And that, I think we were taught in uni that general practitioners, don't quote me on this, get like 30 hours maximum nutrition training.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Could be so wrong, but I guess that's what keeps dietitians in jobs.
I think the first 30 hours of me being alive, my mum was talking about nutrition.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, do you have like Snapchat memories come up?
Yeah.
There was like a Snapchat memory and it was like 9 years ago today. And it's like me just like filming my face and in the background, my mum's like, oh, the protein in this and the carbohydrates in this. I'm like, fuck, my mum was talking to me about calories when I was like 12.
She was on it.
She was on it.
She knew your future.
Literally. So let's get into the first part of this episode. We really want to talk about kind of the biggest mistake that we see beginners make when it comes to nutrition and getting into the space, because I guess our niche as coaches and what we deal with, especially with our Evolve Challenge and our one-on-ones, is a lot of the time it's girls entering the industry. We're not really working with those. I mean, we work with some elderly clients, but it's not really our niche. We do like to work with girls that are just sort of getting into the industry, and we see a lot of people that make the exact same mistakes, and it's a good thing. Like, do you know how many girls come to me and they're like, I feel sorry for asking this question. Like, oh, fuck, I feel so stupid. Yeah. This is so hard. And I'm like, girl, like every single person that has come to me is asking the same thing. Like, do not stress, you're not alone. I was asking the same things too when I got into the industry. Like, it seems easy for me, but it's easy because this is my niche. Yeah. What happens when, like, I don't know, my computer's broken? The freaking computer nerd knows how to fix it, and they're
exactly.
like, this is so easy. And I'm like, how do you know what you're doing?
Computer nerd, i.e. Chase.
Chase, yeah. I FaceTime him, I'm like, why doesn't my mics work? He's like, have you turned them on? Like, no, thanks.
The thing is, like with the dumb questions, it's like you don't stop asking dumb questions the second those ones get answered. Mate, I'm however many years into training nutrition, I still ask my coach dumb questions.
100%.
And it's like, you just got to do it.
You're forever learning. Like, put yourself in environments and put yourself in rooms where people are better than you.
Yeah.
And I know for 6 months of this year, I didn't have a coach. And for me, it's not even about having a coach for the accountability. And for me, I just like someone else's perspective and someone else's opinions on things as well. Yeah. I can go to for feedback. They give me feedback on myself, but I can apply it in different ways. And when I'm coached by someone, like I'm learning so much, just how someone else operates. And it's not always, because we have our styles of training, and obviously programming and what we're doing. But when you're learning from someone else, it's like, fuck, I can put this into a completely different perspective and apply it to different clients. So 100% put yourself in different rooms, but put yourself in rooms where people are better than you and continuously ask questions. If you can go every day with asking one question and learning something new, like you cannot fail. Like you can only continuously get better. Like as soon as you accept like I don't know, like as soon as you accept like, I guess mediocrity or accept that you know it all, like that's when you fail.
And that's when you stop growing as well. And I think that's why there's such a big case to be made for coaches having coaches. It's literally like the best form of professional development. Like I learned a lot from my first coach who I did my prep with.
Yeah.
They've all been like extraordinarily intelligent people who know a lot in the industry because they've been in it like way longer than I have.
Yeah.
I started with a new coach like 2 weeks ago and the amount I'm learning from this man already, it's fantastic.
I can imagine. Yeah. Even all the coaches I've worked with, like absolutely no bad blood, love them all. Like fuck, every single one of those has had an impact on how I coach today.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're a coach, I do believe coaches should have coaches. Like I said, I had a 6-month break this year and I needed it. So sometimes you definitely need that break, but continue learning, I guess, is key for that. So let's get into, some of the biggest mistakes that we see beginners make. So I guess we can go into what we really need to know when starting out. So I guess we can put the room as like, we have a new client coming to us and they're saying, hey, my goal right now is to eat a little bit better. My goal is to start training a little bit more. I want to lose a little bit of body fat. We've all heard that particular client, hey, I want to tone up and I want to lose body fat. What is the first step that you're going to give to a client that comes to you that kind of has no idea, they haven't really had a coach before? Where are we starting with them?
Well, I think the most important thing when a client first comes to you, suss what their baseline is. Like obviously, what are you doing in the gym? Like what are you doing for exercise? All of that. Do you know how many calories you're eating? 9 times out of 10, most people don't know what the frick they're eating.
Oh my God, yeah. Don't tell your coach you know what you're eating and tell them you're eating 1,500 calories. I can guarantee you're not.
Almost never. And that's so fine. Like there's absolutely no shame in not knowing. But yeah, just sussing what they know, what their sort of education level is around health. Because obviously for you and I, education is like a pillar in what we're doing. So I want to know where you are at. What do you know about macronutrients? What do you know about micronutrients? Do you know how much food like a maintenance should be for a person your age, weight, body height, all of that sort of thing? Just suss what the baseline is before you move forward, because there's no point in like absolutely balls to the wallsing it if they just don't know the basics. Yeah.
I always say as well, if you're signing up with a coach and they're putting you in a diet the next day that you've signed up with them, get a new coach.
Yes.
How the fuck does your coach know what your deficit is?
Literally.
They don't. So what we do with our clients is we always do a week or two of maintenance initially. I will get a baseline based off the consults, I don't really, like I always ask the question, hey, how many calories are you eating? I always get the same stock standard answer. I don't think I've ever had a client tell me that they're eating over 2,500 calories. When 2,500 calories is very normal. Like people are like, fuck no, that's so much food. No, it's not.
Realistically, no. You can eat that so easily.
I can guarantee you if you're eating pretty well like Monday to Friday, but Saturday, Sunday you go out for a few drinks, Saturday you might have a pizza, Sunday you go out for brekkie, I can guarantee your baseline across the week is 2,500 calories.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, what I'm saying right now, this is good because when you go into a calorie deficit, realistically, the higher your calories are to begin with and the lower your energy expenditure is to begin with, the easier your deficit is going to be. Your body is going to adjust obviously slower because your rate has been so high and because your baseline has been so low in with your output and your intake has been so high. So you're going to be able to create a deficit quite easy. And also you're going to be able to sustain it too. Everyone can lose weight. Fuck, smash yourself with cardio, eat 1,200 calories. Cool. You're going to lose weight like that. Are you going to be able to sustain this? Fuck no. Are you going to be able to do it long term? No. And you're not going to enjoy the process. A diet doesn't necessarily need to be enjoyable. And I think a lot of feedback that we both get, even with our challenges, is girls being like, this is so easy.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
Exactly. Or it doesn't need to just be shit. Yeah. Like the constant feedback we're giving, because I obviously have a bit of a passion for like food, nutrition. Yes. I love doing the meal plan sides of things. Your food doesn't have to taste like absolute shit, like chicken, rice, broccoli type vibes for you to enjoy it.
Okay.
And to lose weight.
I want to chat to you about this because I love doing meal plans and I know you do as well. our meal plans are very different, guys. If you're getting Maddy as a coach or you're getting me as a coach, you're getting a different meal plan. Yeah. Now, the reason behind this is because, one, I am not a cook myself. I'm not creative. I eat a certain way and I usually do apply that to my clients. I'm like, boring, basic, simple is what works. I know that the research, and that's why I want to hear your opinion on this, because when you're in a dieting phase, research shows that the more palatable, so the tastier your foods are, the more food focused you're going to be. So if you're waking up and your breakfast is, say, some protein pancakes with some chocolate and some peanut butter on the side, like this is going to taste so good that your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, is going to be heightened. And your leptin, which is your satiety hormone, is going to be decreased. So you're basically not going to be as hungry and you're going to be super food focused afterwards. Now, do I believe that there is a time and a place for foods like this? Fuck yes. I'm like all for it. If you can eat these foods and still be okay and not need to binge or not need to overeat afterwards and it keeps you on track, I'm all for it. But with myself, I'm like, you know what? I would just rather have just some oats in the morning, have some berries and have some coconut water, because that way I'm not so heightened towards, and there's no emotional connection with that food in front of me. So I'm eating it and I'm done. So it keeps me very on track. What is your opinion and what's your approach with yourself and clients?
So I don't always necessarily take the same approach for myself as I do for clients. So for me, I do eat bare basics. I'm on a meal plan right now and I could not care less what I'm eating, to be completely honest. But one of like my biggest philosophies is to meet the client where they're at. And it was similar when we were in university. We're constantly told to like meet the patient with where they're at. Now, if I give them a boring ass meal plan and they come back to me the next week and they're like, I want to change everything, I'm sick of it all, I'll be like, okay, we'll cater a bit more. We'll put something in a bit that's a bit more tasty that you eat and you're like, okay, I feel like those cravings are satiated. I can move on with my day. So that's sort of like more so my philosophy when I'm sort of making like more fun foods and including those sort of things, because for some people, definitely it does highly palatable foods, in my experience, make me more hungry.
Yeah, same.
There is no getting around that for me.
Yeah.
But if it's the difference between someone being more adherent and not adherent, then sure, I'll put a bit of Biscoff on your rice cakes or whatever.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I love that phrase, like meet the client where it's at. I haven't really heard people say that, so I love that. And I agree. Like I said, I'm not there just making all my clients eat chicken, rice, broccoli, but I will try the approach.
Yeah.
Fucking oath, I'm going to try the approach. If it's not working with them, then yeah, cool, I'm going to start incorporating something different if they need. Because you know what? I do have some clients that are like, Tabby, I need a meal out per week. I don't expect you to be a robot. If you're a Gen Pop client, you're not getting on stage, realistically, you should be able to still have a meal out each week in a dieting phase. I do think you should. If you want, like at the end of the day, it's variables are what matter. So you're telling your coach all your variables. If you tell them you've eaten off track, just tell them. Like we can work around that. We don't know what we don't know. So if you're not telling us that you've overeaten one day and even maybe the scale still went down, so you were like, I'll get away with not telling her. Like we will find out eventually, but also too, it just makes our job a hell of a lot harder, because our job is based off science. It's based off data that works. So if we're not given the data, then we can't implement and we can't change anything. So this is basically to say, tell your coach what you're going through. If you are struggling, this is why we have feedback forms. And if you're a coach listening to this as well, and how you do your check-in forms, like I highly suggest asking the client for feedback on their compliance, on do they want changes? Like ask the client what they need. It's not always one way or the highway.
Yeah.
You need to be able to adapt to the client. Maybe it's extra work for you to make those small tweaks to your meal plans each week, but you should be fucking making the tweaks, because you want your clients to get results. And if you get your clients results, that's what's going to get you a higher client intake, and that's what's going to generate you more money.
Exactly. And we're constantly saying like, we don't care if you've had a shit week.
No.
Like emotionally, we're like, obviously I'm sorry you had a shit week. Yeah. But
we do care about your feelings.
We promise.
Sometimes.
But it's like, we don't care if you've had a shit week. Do the check-in regardless. I think that's something that really sets clients apart. They understand that, like, it's a part of the process. I have a shit week every now and then. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, guys, my check-ins I do every fortnight on a Wednesday. I had a check-in this morning and I did not want to do it. I was like, I'm not taking photos. My compliance to my nutrition was terrible. This week has been really good, but the week prior just wasn't great. Like, had some issues going on with my health, and I'm someone who's like, when I know what my body can do and I know where I can go. So when I'm held back by something that's outside of my control, I am emotional, guys. And I'm like, what's the point if I can't be a bikini athlete? I'm just going to work and sit on my couch. But that's not how it should be either. So I'm still learning and I'm still trying to navigate like my emotions, and obviously my life has been very different this year. So I'm still trying to navigate this new life for me. And it's a new challenge, which is helping me with my clients as well who are going through the same thing. So I ended up doing a check-in and don't know how good the feedback's going to be, but I still did it, guys. It's like when I got a post on my Instagram story like 3 days ago, constructive criticism, like your coach should be pulling you up on your shit.
Yes, 100%. And that's something I'm learning myself as a coach.
You're so nice.
I am so nice. Like, I never want to hurt anyone's feelings. I am the least confrontational person.
Yeah.
And that was like Tabby's feedback to me after the first Evolve challenge. You were like, you just got to be mean when you got to be mean, you know? And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And in the past couple of weeks, like, just for an example, like a client said to me, just to let you know, I'm going to be completely off plan from like check-in day to like almost the next check-in day because I'm like going to Melbourne. And I was like, okay, well, I feel like that's pretty bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your calories are high enough that you can track things in. You can obviously get steps if you can't train because you're with family and all of that shit. Like, that's understandable, you know? But you can try. And I feel like when I got, like, she messaged me back after getting that check-in. She was like, you know what, holy shit, thank you so much for that.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, see, that's what I was scared of, that someone would be like, you're horrible.
No. A lot of the time you'll have clients being like, fuck, I needed that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much the exact feedback I got.
Pull them up on their shit. Like, and going on to the traveling thing, guys, again, my situation was a little bit different, but I basically traveled all over the world last year. For 6 months of the year, I was not in the country. And I didn't once eat a meal out, and I trained every single day. I hit my steps and I hit my cardio. Like I said, my situation was different. I wasn't a contest prep, so I had chosen to do that. So that was my circumstance. My point to this is I was traveling in different countries, different supermarkets. I didn't know the local gyms. I didn't know the local foods. I still managed to make it work every single fucking day. There wasn't one day that I slipped up. So this is just to show you that you can if you want to.
If you want to make it work, you absolutely will. And if you have a decent circle of people around you, they'll help you. They will understand. Like, I'm constantly saying I have the best friends, the best boyfriend, most understanding family in the world. I had my mum's birthday last weekend, and because I'm like with a new coach. She didn't give a shit if I didn't eat a sausage at the barbecue. Like, I just took my food.
I say this to people all the time. I'm like, you realize your friends don't give a shit.
No.
Your friends, there was a quote that I was at event last weekend, and there was a quote, and I actually wrote it down, and it was like, you will stop caring so much what people think of you when you realize how little they do.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Absolutely not. Even when I was in prep, like, my friends and I didn't go out for dinners or things like that when we met up. We'd go to someone's apartment. I'd bring my tiny little povo food.
They don't care.
And they'd go like get schnitz or something, bring it back, and we'd eat together.
Yeah.
And that was just how it worked, and they're fantastic for that. But if the people in your life care about you, they'll help you make it happen.
100%. And I know it's hard to get out of that environment and get out of like your circle and stuff if you feel like they're not supportive. It is hard. It's hard to have those conversations.
Yeah.
But realistically, why would you want people around you that aren't supporting you? So
exactly.
That's what I think. All right, let's go into some common myths.
Yes.
Because I love chatting about nutrition myths.
Yes.
We've all got them.
And there's so many of them.
We've all been there. Do you want to start?
Okay, so we've got a few around, like you have to eat a certain type of diet to achieve a certain type of result. So quite often we're seeing, I don't know, what is this carnivore revelation lately? Like, where did this come from?
Your breakfast needs to be eggs, steak, and butter.
Yeah.
I'm like, yum, but
I feel like I've kind of like sent it to my friends and made fun of it a bit to the point where like my entire explore page is just carnivore.
So is mine. All my reels and my TikTok has been overridden by carnivores. I'm like, guys, give me carbs back.
Literally, where is the pasta? But yeah, just as the short and skinny of it, you don't need to eat a certain type of diet to achieve fat loss, muscle gain, whatever like physique goals you're kind of wanting to see. It's whatever's most sustainable for you. Whatever you can be the most consistent with, that's going to be the best for you.
Yeah, I love that. It's definitely not about following like a ketogenic diet. It's not about following a carnivore diet or a low carb, a high fat. It's what works for you to be able to sustain. So the reason, I mean, keto is completely different because you've got the whole like your body goes into ketosis, and I can actually guarantee, well, about 90% of people that try keto are not going into ketosis. It's because that is a bodily process. It does actually happen, but it is very hard for the body to get there. And it has, I'm pretty sure you have to be like keto for like 2 weeks completely. But even that keto, it's like that fine line between are you really keto or are you not? So again, it's the reason these diets work is because one, it's putting you in a calorie deficit, and two, it's helping that person adhere.
Yeah.
So it's not that the diet works, it's that the calorie deficit is working.
Exactly. And look, if you love eating steak and butter for breakfast every single day, then you're probably going to adhere to that. And that's fantastic.
I agree. And look, there is that whole like diets work. Yes, I'm a believer in like macronutrients. So it's like calories will determine your body weight. Macronutrients will determine how you look, and micronutrients will determine how you feel. So if you're eating steak, eggs, and butter in the morning, great, but there is no carbohydrates there. So naturally, like, cool, you might portion control that. It might put you in a deficit, or it might put you in a surplus if you're wanting to build. That's like, we're definitely not just talking about diets here, but there's not really any carbohydrates here. Are you going to train straight after this? Maybe not optimal. Maybe put a piece of bread there, or maybe have like some fruit, some berries, some bananas to get that glycogen in, because carbohydrates are for a purpose. Like it's the body's main energy source. Of course, like it's needed. So again, I do believe in like peri-workout nutrition and nutrient timing. And there's obviously research and data around that too. But again, all we're saying is whatever diet works for you, it doesn't have to be a specific diet. Just create a caloric deficit or a caloric surplus based off your goals at the time. And if you can sustain it, it will work.
For sure. And I think that's definitely like the main thing when it comes to physique related goals, but also like you were saying, when you don't have like carbs in for those intra-workouts, pre-workouts, etc., how good is your performance? How are you feeling? Because physique isn't the only like parameter of, you know, success and that sort of thing when it's coming specifically to sport, obviously to bodybuilding, etc. So those are just things to think about when you're sort of like wanting to jump on a diet trend or anything like that as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that eating healthy is expensive?
Expensive. It is what you make of it. And when I say that, obviously, if you're wanting to do the whole like green supplements, if you're wanting to get into every nook and cranny, optimize absolutely everything beyond what's necessary, then yeah, you can really rack up the bills. Like I think I spent like $400 on sups a few weeks ago just for the hell of it, because my coach was like, try it.
Yeah.
But that's not an expectation of to just like be a literal healthy human being. It doesn't have to be expensive. No, you can. What is a can of beans nowadays? Like $150, if that.
Yeah, I'm not buying beans, so I don't know.
No, you're not a beans person. Big on the legumes, guys. We'll come back to that. But yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive, but it does also come down to what are your priorities? What is expensive to you? Because most people are in a way more privileged position than they realize that they are, because it is obviously easy to say, like, I don't have the money to go on holidays and things like that. Like, I'm not jetting off to freaking New Zealand anytime soon, personally.
No.
But I can put the money where it counts. And for me, that is my health.
Yeah, I think priorities is a point of priorities. And probably most people listening to this, like someone's going to listen and be like, no, they're talking about finances. They're just more, they're luckier than us. Guys, no, it comes down to priorities. It's not because someone's like more wealthy than you that they can afford to eat better. I honestly, like, I do a Woolies like online order once a week, and I probably spend like, I'm on a meal plan at the moment. I feel like meal plans do make things cheaper. This isn't to say follow meal plans. I'm a believer in doing macros, but when you do macros, just like you should naturally be eating similar foods each day. We do. You don't need to go buy 10 different protein sources. Like, I eat chicken every day and I eat extra lean beef mince every day. Maybe once or twice a week I'll have some salmon or have some fish, and that's cool. I'll go buy that. But my weekly grocery order is probably about $100. Like, I'm buying like frozen peas and corns if I want to. If I go to I love going to the markets. Look, I will step aside here and say again, we are both very privileged when it comes to being able to afford what we want to eat, but it's because we prioritize that. Other things are going without for us to be able to do this, because I do really care about my nutrition. I am like, even like with my water, I'm making sure I don't drink tap water. I'm buying filtered like water, so it's always bottled. But again, I have the opportunity to do that, and I prioritize that for myself. When it comes to like my foods, I do like to go to the markets and buy organic foods, but can I be just eating the regular chicken breast that's like free range from the shops? Yes. Can I be eating just the veggies that are at Coles and Woolworths? Yes, I can. You can go to Aldi. Things are cheaper as well. But because things are packeted doesn't necessarily make things cheaper. If you can make it cheap if you want it to be. Just write a grocery list.
Exactly. Write a grocery list. Follow the grocery list. And we'll come back to social media in a little while, but essentially, I do feel like social media has really skewed what that like healthy lifestyle looks like, and it sort of mixes it into that aesthetic, like everything's homemade, everything like has to cost an arm and a leg for you to. If anyone knows Nara Smith or like follows Nara Smith on TikTok, Instagram, she's the one that like home makes every single thing, or like will make homemade marshmallows and things like that. And I feel like that's sort of what we're consuming and starting to feel like is an expectation.
Yeah.
Nobody expects you to do the most fancy, expensive shit to like
Agreed.
eat healthy. It's so completely unnecessary.
Social media, and I want to get into this in a bit because I'm going to go off on a tangent here. So let's just quickly chat about more of like I love this, the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
Because I think you wanted to mention something about your current coach at the moment with what he was speaking to you about with the whole 80-20 rule. Is that correct? Yeah. But I want to get your perspective on it first so I can give my opinion. So hit me. And guys, for the whole 80-20 rule, basically it's like, if you're on 80% of the time, you can eat like 80% good foods, whole foods, then 20% you can enjoy and eat different foods. My issue with this is, in that 80%, are you 100% on? And that's where I think people are going wrong, because every day someone might be like, oh, have a cookie. Yeah, it's a part of my 20%. No, that's a part of your 80%.
Yeah.
And then that 80%, now you're no longer 100% on. You're now 50% on in that 80%, which is bringing you to a 50-50 across the end of the week, which means, sorry, you're staying here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
We'll come back to the coaching thing a bit later, because that's more around like training versus nutrition.
Okay,
like what's more important. But with the 80-20 rule, like I'm a big fan when it's done properly. Like you said, most people's 80%, they're not going 100% in on like eating whole foods, eating your veggies and fruits and all of that, all of the basics. But what I've found for myself is I've just found a lot of peace in being that 100% when you're doing like your 80% healthy or whatever. And then saving that 20% for like special occasions. Like it's my anniversary with my partner soon. So I know we want to go to a steak restaurant at night, and it's not like a healthy, skinny steak restaurant.
No.
It's like that shit's cooked in butter and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be fantastic. And I can't wait for that. And that just makes me want to be like 100% all in on what I'm doing, because it's just going to be so worth it. And it feels so much better when it's not like every single day you're sort of having something that doesn't necessarily make you feel fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you need to earn meals out at all. Like if you're just someone who just doesn't really care, this is for the people that care. Like this podcast is for people that care. If you're listening and you don't track your food and you don't give a shit what you eat, don't even listen. Like it's got nothing to do with you. So pretty much it's like, that's why I was saying before, like when I give my clients that one meal out per week, I'm giving them that one meal per week because hopefully it's keeping them on so they can be 100% throughout the week.
Yeah.
And that meal out is their 20%. So yeah, it's just don't fuck up that mentality of thinking every cookie is balance. Like there's balance, but if your goal is to diet, there needs to be a level of restriction. And that may that may come like as a wow to people, but there is a level of restriction when you're in a calorie deficit. There has to be food, well, not foods you're not consuming, but there has to be a level of potential hunger. There has to be a level of potential like uncomfortability and sacrifice in order for you to create a calorie deficit. Because if you don't have those things, then you're just going to stay exactly where you are. And you've come to your coach for a reason, to lose body fat, which means you're ready to make that commitment.
Yeah. And I think just on that as well, people, I feel like, are getting a bit confused between general balance and then what you do when you have an actual physique goal.
Yes.
Because generally, yes, 80-20, have a little bit of something. It's literally not going to kill you.
No.
But when you have a physique goal, smaller things do count. And that's why, you go to a coach to have them on your ass, to have that accountability.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you're a shit person for giving into a cookie every day, but
No.
when you have a goal, that's what I'm here for.
I 100% agree. So let's chat about someone in the recent Evolve Challenge as well, which I think is important.
Yes.
It was Chloe.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a background on Chloe. So guys, Maddy and I, we've ran 2 Evolve Challenges now. We've got 2 weeks left of this last one. Our next Evolve Challenge will be, we haven't launched it yet, but it will be, the intakes will open and probably in January, and we'll have a start date of around January 27th or early Feb. We haven't determined that yet, but pretty much our Evolve challenges aren't just necessarily about the physical transformation, but more so the mental side of things. And a lot of you guys will know I've been against challenges for a long time, but I feel like how we've implemented and how we've worked this challenge is so ingraining, and like the girls have benefited so much off of it, and they're coming out of it being like, fuck, I learned so much and I'm so educated that I feel like I can sustain this longer term, because we're not trying to kill these girls. But yeah, chat about Chloe and give us a little bit of some insight on how she's gone.
Yeah, so Chloe started with us 6 weeks ago when we started the second Evolve Challenge. Now, just a bit of background on her. Her health and fitness journey started in August 2023. She weighed roughly about 150 kilos when she first began. Now, in the past year, she lost 50 kilos, which is absolutely wild.
All natural?
All natural,
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
And the way like she's described it to me, it's all been very healthy, very holistic. Obviously deliberate restriction to be in a calorie deficit. But she's done it in a very, very healthy way, which is so commendable. And in the 6 weeks that she's been with us, she's lost a further 11 kilos.
Wow.
Just in the Evolve Challenge alone.
11 kilos in 6 weeks.
That's so wild. Now, just to give you some stats on where she sort of started, 109 kilos. She was roughly about that 1950, 2000 calories mark. 11K steps and minimal cardio. So we started around those 3 sessions of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So definitely very modest starting point. Now, week 6, she's 98 kilos. Her calories have only dropped to 1,700.
Wow.
Just to keep from adaptation. Steps are at 12,000 and she's only at 60 minutes total cardio.
Jesus Christ.
So obviously her body has been very responsive because she's initially like done herself a favor. She has done her initial 50 kilos in a very healthy way. And then she's come to us, we've taken the reins and we've taken her a little bit further. Now, what I feel is the most important about Chloe being in this challenge is her mindset. And this is what sets clients apart, I feel. Her mindset is so healthy. I've literally gotten some of her check-ins here because I wanted to read to you some of the things she's saying.
Hit me.
I can do anything I put my mind to, and I know all these foods will be there in 4 months' time or even 4 years' time. I've committed for so long, so why stop now? Her health is her priority, and she'll do everything that's necessary every single day to help her achieve her goals. And she's obviously come from a point where she's like, okay, I'm unhappy with my body, but also I'm unhappy with my health. And that is so like infinitely more important in helping you sustain it long term, because obviously no one wants cardiovascular disease when they're 65.
Type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes. And it's just what you do now counts. And she's got such a healthy mindset around that.
I love that. And on that note as well, with type 2 diabetes, we had a client come to Maddy only 3 weeks ago who I'm pretty sure she was borderline type 2.
Her fasting blood glucose came back like just above range. So like, okay, we'll retest. Retested, and it was like 10 point something. Like she was well and truly above range.
Wow.
And they were like, okay, you have type 2 diabetes. It's not the end of the world. Like you can do something about it because you're in the early stages. And understandably, she was extremely upset.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a
reality
how did I let
check.
it get to this point? Now fast forward like 2 weeks together, she'd lost a few kilos. So I think she'd lost 2.4 of her doctor told her to lose like 20 kilos. Not necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
But she'd gotten down 2.4. She'd redone her bloods. HbA1c was down a whole like 1.0, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And her fasting blood glucose is almost out of range again of type 2 diabetes.
It's insane.
So it's absolutely insane. And that just goes to show that even if you're at a point where your health isn't optimal, it's not too late to start doing something about it.
I love that. No matter your age, no matter your body weight, you can start today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start where you're at. You don't have to be in the best possible position.
Yeah. And that's another thing when we were chatting about the Evolve Challenge, we're like, when do we do it? When do we host the next one? When should be the start date? Like, guys, who gives a fuck? Start on a Wednesday.
Literally.
Start on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, your body has no idea what day of the week it is. Like, just get started. And sometimes there's never going to be a perfect time. So don't just be like, oh, I'm going to wait to sign up with their coach and I'm going to wait to the new year. Like, you can either say, like right now it's like what's the date today? Like the 12th of November.
Yeah.
You can either set yourself forward like 6 weeks, or you can set yourself backwards 6 weeks. Like I think that's how long until the end of the year. Yeah. So do what you need to do to set yourself forward, because you can really completely write off the next few months. And I know that I think I had 5 clients message me this week being like, hi, can I please pause my payments over December? I just know that I won't be able to be adherent and there's going to be so much shit on. So what?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who cares? The fact that you've got events on, it's like, that's not a reason to just stop caring about your health.
Learn to work around it.
I'm not telling you need to go out and take your meals, and I'm going to be out enjoying nights out and some cocktails and having spontaneous nights out to myself, but I still care about my health in that process.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's a big thing to touch on. Now we'll move into a little bit more of social media. This is going very, very quickly. So let's chat about social media, finding body positivity and avoiding a little bit of comparison. So I know we were touching on this a little bit initially with where social media is going. And it's not necessarily a good thing, because I agree, like it's going back to that whole expensive aspect too. Things are super aesthetic, and it's like I'm looking at someone making a Ninja Creamy, and it's like the Ninja Creamy alone is like $300, and then they're incorporating all these like freaking snacks inside of it, and it's like that little ice cream there is now like $50, and it's like you're expecting people to have one of these a day, and not even just the Ninja Creamies, but then their overnight wheat bix has like 12 ingredients in it, and I'm like, what is going on? What happened to just 4 wheat bix and some light milk?
Literally. Why does it start? I was so disappointed when I Googled how much a Ninja Creamy actually was.
Guilty. I did buy one.
Jealous. Now, what were we talking about? My brain is like
social media. So what are your thoughts on where social media is going when it comes to educating people and helping them on their journeys with nutrition?
The difficult thing with social media is everyone sort of has a stake in it, where what you see is very algorithmic. Like what you're seeing is getting pushed to you for a reason, and that's likely because people are trying to sell you something. And it's difficult because the internet doesn't particularly care if it's healthy. It cares like what's getting shared, what is getting the most likes, what is getting saved the most. It's more so what is popular rather than what is actually healthy.
Yeah. The algorithm, like, I love it, but I hate it. Like, if I'm that person that like, I need my TikTok time per day. I don't care what anyone says. I need like 30 minutes on TikTok per day. And could I be like reading a book? Yeah, I do that anyway, guys. I also read a book, but I still need my 30 minutes TikTok time. And sometimes I'm like loving the algorithm. I'm like, fuck, this is so in my favor today. It's like motivating me. But then there's other times I check my algorithm. I'm like, fuck, this is so negative. Like, where did this come from? And your phones are listening to you. Like, they are listening to your conversations. They are picking up on what you're liking. They're picking up what you're sharing. Like, be like, have caution in what you like. have caution in who you follow. If you don't like something, block, hide, unfollow, like do what you need to do and stop consuming shit. Because if you're consuming shit, that's going to be ingrained into you. It's going into your thoughts. It's going into your behaviors. It's going into your actions. Like the algorithm is not in your favor. It is going and it's leaning on your vulnerability because it wants you to behave and think a certain way. So like stop letting social media, like it's not your be all and end all. It's not.
Yeah. And social media like really just capitalizes on exploiting insecurities.
Yeah,
that's
facts.
Why, like we all follow like super hot girls and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I follow so many like bikini pros and things like that. Use some of that as a reason to like inspire yourself.
Yeah.
But also don't have a comparison there where it's like this person looks good. And because they look good, they're successful.
Yeah.
And because of this, blah, blah, blah. And then the like opening scene to one of the What I Eat in a Day is like, my Depot drink.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh,
my God.
well, I should totally
They're
buy
like
that.
showing their abs and like this drink. I'm like, it wasn't the fucking drink.
Literally.
Like,
you have eaten like 1,200 calories for the past 3 months. Like that's why.
Yeah. It's, as they say, the saying goes, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to put it. If you don't like something and you find yourself comparing, block, like get rid of it, unfollow. I follow like 300 people on Instagram. I just don't give a shit for it because I'm following people that I actually want to see the content. Yeah. I don't have anyone muted on my Instagram. And I know there's people like, I just mute everyone. Why would I fucking mute you? I'm just going to unfollow you. Seriously. Like I have no one muted. I have no one even like really blocked. Like if I follow you, it's because I want to see your stories. I want to see your feed posts. I want to see what you're posting. I want to see what you're giving, the content you're giving out because I care about it.
Yeah.
If I don't care about it, if it's affecting me, I will unfollow you. It is simple.
You don't owe people the expense of like your mental health. If things are affecting you, block that shit.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going up to them in person and saying, I hate you. Like,
right?
It's completely fine. It's not personal.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had anyone come up to me being like, you unfollowed me. Like, no. You don't know me. So we will go into obviously finding balance and how to enjoy your favorite foods without guilt. We are going into the festive season. So I think it's a good opportunity to chat about this. And I mean, you can even chat about probably your own past experiences too with, I know myself, like, fuck the guilt I've felt for like eating out before or being like, I shouldn't have done this. And then I would struggle in the Christmas season because I would just be like, it's like an all or nothing effect. How would you help navigate a client when they are going into the festive season when it's not being all in or all out?
Yeah, I think one of the things to remember, and also this does come from a very dietetic perspective as well, which I feel helps differentiate me a little bit. Food is something that, yes, can bring people together. It's something to enjoy with people. And when it comes to things like Christmas, there's certain foods that you won't have at other times of the year. You're with your family, you're with your friends, and things like New Year's as well. We have traditions with my friend group. We play beer pong every year. I lose and I get absolutely smashed. That's just our tradition. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I was like counting every single calorie, if I was making myself absolutely sick with anxiety.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. Just know that these are sort of like once yearly things. It's okay to indulge a little. It's okay to enjoy the time with your family and friends. Like, I don't expect you to like not go to the friggin' family Christmas.
Right.
Because you don't want to eat your meal prep in front of people. Like, if you do, no one cares, I assure you.
Yeah.
But if you indulge a little, like, it's not the end of the world.
It was like I was saying before, like I've definitely had Christmases where I haven't eaten. I've had Easters where I haven't eaten. And no one gave a shit.
Yeah.
I did that because of the stage of my life that I was in, and I was in a comp prep. I'm going to be enjoying this year. Fucking oath I am.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, give me everything. So it's just about, look, even when a client says to me, they'll be like, hey, had dinner on the weekend and had 2 cocktails. I reply to them, I said, that's good. Hope you enjoyed it. How's the rest of your week been? Because you know what? It's not that deep. Yeah. Do you know what is deep though? If you feel guilty for that. So it's not the dinner and it's not the 2 cocktails that you had. It's the guilt associated with it that I have an issue with. So it's not the meal. It's the fact that you now feel guilty for thinking that that was deemed as a bad thing that you did for going off plan.
Exactly.
That's what I have the issue with. And that's where you need to break it down with the client and navigate, obviously, okay, why are they feeling this way? What is realistically their goals? What is realistic for them to be able to adhere and to stick to? And honestly, you're not going to heal your relationship with food by not eating food. So my relationship with food has improved so much this year because this is the first year honestly since probably 2018 that I haven't dieted. This is the first year that I went 6 months without tracking my food. I basically like went back and lived with my family and didn't use food scales, and my body changed for it, but fuck, my mental health was so much better. Yeah. And now I like, guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see I literally go out for dinner like every second day.
A couple cocktails here and there.
Yeah, sometimes. But I genuinely I love it. Like, and I don't have any guilt associated with it. For me, it is like, I live alone. Like I'm like same with you. You probably realize now, you're probably like, fuck, I don't really talk to people. Like,
yeah, literally.
And I had someone like stay with me for like 2 days, and they were like, ask me a question. They're like, so you really like don't interact with people, like, oh, if you don't? And I'm like, no, unless I make an effort to like go out and socialize, like I'm really not really talking to people besides my clients. So that's why for me, I love going out for dinner, and I love going out for a few cocktails and being able to chat to my friends. And I love socializing because I don't really get that social aspect when I am home. So when I used to feel guilty for doing those things, I was then just even more isolated because I wasn't going out and catching up with my friends. So healing that part of me just improved my whole quality of life.
Exactly. And learning that balance, it's almost just like learning to be a normal human again before all of these things on like social media touched you, before you started like having this skewed vision of what health actually looks like. Health also looks like obviously going out for dinner, being a social human being. That's like what makes us functional. That's what really helps our mental health. It's not necessarily just what you are eating. Agreed.
Yeah. And it's like, I look back to when I was like, I don't know, like 15, I'd eat some oats in the morning. Do you think I was getting out my food scales? No. So like, it's not actually normal. Like I weigh things now because if I'm cooking my cream of rice, for example, I need to weigh that because I'm like, well, I don't know how much water to add and shit now.
Exactly.
That's why. And obviously if I'm dieting and I have a specific goal and following a meal plan at the time, yeah, cool, I'm going to be weighing everything. But like if you're there weighing your cucumber and your lunch, like, and you're a regular person, not really with an aesthetic goal at the time, like that is not classified normal.
Yeah.
It's not.
Exactly.
So again, though, it's just about the guilt associated with it. If you feel better doing that stuff and you have no guilt associated and you just like doing it, cool. If you're having guilt associated with it and it's affecting your quality of life, then I highly suggest getting a coach and like help work and navigate that, which I'm excited for because we have our live event on the 30th of November and we will be having Sherry talk. So Sherry is, I guess you could say she's a bit of a binge eating kind of like specialist, and she does help people improve their relationships with food and their relationships with themselves, and she really will be deep diving into that aspect of things. So again, there's people that specialize in these things. So yeah, reach out to them, and if you want to come to the live event, tickets are in our bio. But let's get into some of the questions because we've only got like 5 minutes left. But let's hit with some of the quick ones. Who did you study your certs with?
My Cert 3 and 4 I did with Oz Institute of Fitness.
Yeah.
I think it was roughly like $5,000 or something like that.
Yeah, they're all around the same price.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all your other qualifications just through uni?
Yeah, through La Trobe.
Yeah.
I love La Trobe.
Yeah. I think some companies that I'm going to put out there, obviously one, I do a bit of work with Clean Health. So if you guys are wanting your Cert 3-4s, your like nutrition certs, anything like that, Clean Health is an amazing company. They are worldwide as well. And you can obviously get a lot of your qualifications from them. I really respect Dane, and he's obviously the owner of the company, and yeah, they're really good to work for, and I do really like what they promote. Otherwise, another one that I do really like is John Jewett that I got you onto, J3 University. He goes more, it's completely different from like Clean Health, but he goes more into obviously it's very evidence-based. He's an amazing person, but they will help you like understand the female. It's very specific.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like they've got certain tiers and certain, it's not even really like qualifications, but certain courses that you can do. That's like, there's one on like females, like for bodybuilding or like PEDs or something about nutrition. Like they're very specific courses that you can do. And there's like heaps of coursework and modules that you can tick off. So J3 University, if you want to go through them as well, I'd definitely look it up if you are trying to get a little bit more educated. Is there any others you know of that?
Honestly, no. The main ones I've looked at are J3U and obviously any of my own education.
Yeah. So those are the basics. All right. So the next question is, I want to lose body fat, but every time I diet, I end up binging. Do you have any tips?
If you are binging, you should not be in a deficit. From personal experience, I have struggled with binge eating before, and a deficit won't fix you because it's not a food problem. It's a mental health problem. So if you are, my biggest tips would be reach out to a dietitian, go see a GP and get like a mental health care plan, talk to an actual practitioner. My biggest tips, just because trying to restrict yourself because obviously you either feel guilty or because you're putting on body fat naturally as a result, it's not going to fix you going into a deficit.
Yeah. Binge eating occurs due to a level of restriction. I'm not saying it's a level of restriction with food. It can be a restriction emotionally, can be a restriction physically. You're not getting something that you should be physically. You're not getting something you should be emotionally.
Yes.
A lot of the time people binge eat because they've had a breakup and they're sad, right? So it's not because they were restricting their food intake throughout the day. I don't want people to think that you binge eat because you're restricting your food. You binge eat due to a level of restriction that can be in many, many aspects. Yes. So you're not going to heal your relationship with food in a diet. Firstly, get out of the diet. Your body will look better and your body will respond better. Sometimes it does get a little bit worse before it gets better. Remember that. Everything does. Yeah. But do you want to overcome this? Do you want to continuously be living in a cycle where you're just thinking about food 24/7? No, like life goes on. People are out there doing amazing things. Like you want to be able to enjoy them instead of thinking continuously about your next meal. So I just, my top tips are definitely just don't try and deal with that yourself.
Yeah. It's like, it's a horrible feeling and God, I remember it, but you can overcome it.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Macros or meal plan, what is best?
Understand macros first and foremost. That's foundational. Understand what you should be eating, why you should be eating it, sort of like what's a healthy ratio for you, etc. But if you adhere better to a meal plan, then go for it.
Yeah. Personally, guys, I like a meal plan.
Yeah.
I don't like macros. However, the reason I don't like doing macros is because I do it for so many clients. I'm writing so many client meal plans. I'm writing so many client like what to eat in a day. So I would rather my coach just give me a meal plan and I follow that.
Yeah.
I know how to track macros. I know it. I can literally close my eyes and know how to weigh out 100 grams of chicken. I know how much is in everything. My nutritional knowledge is pretty good. So is yours. I think you need to know how to count macros. You need to know how to count calories before following a meal plan. I think it's super important. And I teach my clients to do that simultaneously. I'll give them a meal plan whilst teaching them how to track macros. There's not a be all and end all. Some of my clients I've seen achieve amazing results counting their own food.
Yeah.
I've had girls do a comp prep. My first ever comp prep, I didn't follow a meal plan.
So did I for most of it.
Yeah. I tracked macros my first ever comp prep. I was still in condition. The next ones after that, I did meal plan just because I was busier with work. I was busier with life. So for me, meal plan worked and I just disassociated my emotion with food. And I think sometimes you've got to be able to do that as well.
100%.
Yeah. Do you allow cheat meals and thoughts on having a cheat meal in a dieting phase?
When it comes to cheat meals, the mindset around it really counts a lot for me.
Stop calling it a cheat meal.
What are you cheating on? It's food. It's okay. You're not a horrible person. Like I said, for having a cookie, it's all good. If you want to go out for dinner with your friends, that's not a cheat meal. That's literally just life. That's okay. I'm not going to say you can't do that by any means. I think it's important. It's obviously for you and your mental health, but also for your body. When you've been in a deficit for that long, sometimes you stop responding. And then obviously that's what refeeds are for. That's what
for sure
going out for dinner is for.
Yeah. I think there's, again, I hate the word cheat meal. I think there's if you're wanting a meal out in your dieting phase, ask why. If your coach hasn't, I implement high days, I implement refeeds because obviously metabolic adaptation, the body will respond better. A lot of the time we need to bring cortisol down physiologically and psychologically. So it's good to implement a little bit more food and decrease your output for 1, 2, 3 days, sometimes even a diet break across the week to obviously reduce fatigue and help the body to continue responding. But it's does the client just randomly want a meal out? Then probably not. I'm going to pull you up on your shit. I'm going to tell you, hey, do you feel like you really need this? Is it something you need to help you get to where you want to be? Or are you just wanting a random dinner out per week? So it's really dependent on the client, what their goals are, where they want to go. But yeah, I usually prefer to give like refeeds across a few day period. Does that mean I won't allow meals out? Of course not. I always, like, my clients can eat out if they want to. It's just, again, how do they control the habits around it?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, the ball's in your court when it comes to coaching. Like,
yeah,
I can say, you know, it's not the best idea given we like had a meal out 2 days ago. But at the end of the day, what you choose to do is up to you. Your level of, I guess, dedication to your goal dictates how much you're willing to sacrifice.
I can't do the work for you.
Yeah.
Right. Last question is, I guess we could talk a little bit about like supplements and vitamins. What do you think the importance what do you think the importance of vitamins and supplements is in a dieting phase or in just general life? And is there any that you recommend?
Okay. For me, I always come from the philosophy of like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. If you get your bloods back and everything's fine, I'm not going to be like, okay, take XYZ supplements just for absolutely no reason. However, I'd always make an argument, especially for people who are weight training, people with physique goals, things like creatine, things like whey protein, obviously make it a lot easier to hit higher protein goals than you generally expect of someone that's not weight training or doesn't have physique goals, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, you should take fish oil, you should take women's multivitamin, you should take vitamin D, C. Obviously, it's good, get your bloods done. I think see what actually needs working. There's no point taking a supplement if your body doesn't need it.
Exactly.
Right? You're just paying for something that's unnecessary. There is a supplement is designed to supplement you. It's not there to cure you. It's not there to improve things drastically. It is there to supplement you. So stop thinking that your women's multivitamin is going to help fix all your problems.
Exactly. And I think we had another question somewhere along the lines of like, what supplements are best for fat loss? None. I'm sorry to say it won't do it for you.
Clenbuterol. No, I'm kidding.
Census.
I'm kidding, guys. There's not. So if you're like, oh, should I be taking a cedar oil carnitine? Everyone's like, that's great for fat burning. Should I take a fat burner? Like, okay, if you want to, just stick to your calorie deficit, and that's what's going to help you best.
Exactly. Like the absolute marginal, benefit you get from those things for fat loss doesn't outweigh like a shit diet.
Right. Yeah. Nothing outweighs a shit diet.
Yeah.
So yes, if you guys can take anything away from today's podcast, it's just that nutrition is clearly very important, but it's important if you want it to be. And if you want to live a long and healthy life, then it's something that you need to prioritize. If you don't really give a shit about what you're doing, then honestly continue eating what you're eating. But again, I doubt you've gotten to the end of this podcast or even listened to this podcast if there wasn't some level of care factor there. So we appreciate you obviously listening. You can reach out to Maddy or I and we will reply. If you are wanting to get on board with the team as well, we will be opening like one-on-one intakes with Maddy, obviously currently, and with myself later in the year. We will be having our next Evolve Challenge entries open in early January, so get ready for that. But the next Evolve Challenge will probably start, we're thinking later January.
Yeah. And obviously if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about mindset, binge eating and sports performance, we are having our live event November 30th. Tickets are in our bios.
Yep.
So please do come along. It's going to be a really good day.
Yeah, we can't wait. So thank you, Maddy, for coming on today.
No worries.
And I'm sure we'll have another podcast soon. So thank you guys for listening. Like I said, if you have any questions, hit us. But yeah, thank you for listening to Tabby Talks, where we chat all things fitness, business, lifestyle, and a little bit of shit.